slide?
Down in?
No, any temperature. You just want to make sure that it has a nice kind of good skin layer on it before you go 80 down the highway, or it will kind of smear off. Yep.
What is that?
What's that?
What is the height?
I don't know. We can get a tape measure and measure if you want.
Best question made so far. That's the number.
So since we're back here, can you speak to towing capacity or anything like that, or we just look at the spec book? Or
I would look at the specs for like, what are you towing? Like, what do you?
oh, I don't know. I would imagine props a vehicle at some point, but
Yeah, like towing a vehicle. I mean, this is rated. So the tow weight is 750. The tow weight's 750 ton, and then I think the gross is 7,500. So yeah, like towing a vehicle, like getting like an ox setup. Is that what you're kind of talking about?
Yeah.
Like towing a car, things behind it. Yeah, that'll be fine. That's what the hitch is made for. So right here is how you drain your fresh tank. You're gonna put water in the fresh tank inside here, which we're about to go over. So when you're done camping, you want to also drain the fresh tank. So the things I always recommend doing whenever you're done camping is turning the propane tank off, draining the fresh tank, and draining the water heater, and turning the batteries off, which we'll go over all of those, but those are the main 4 things you want to do when you put your unit in storage and you're getting ready to walk away. That way the water does not become stagnant in the fresh tank or the water heater, and your batteries won't draw dead, and if something happens, you won't be leaking propane out. So those are the 4 things you want to make sure that are drained and turned off when you go to leave it in storage.
you're typically doing that once you get it to storage, or you typically do it at the site?
Anything you want, anything in between, really.
Depends on how far you're driving.
Yeah.
Sure, I just didn't know if there was a best practice or something that...
No, everyone does something different, I kind of leave it up to the customer to see what they'll enjoy and like doing the best. I just kind of let people know these are the 4 things before you walk away from it, leaving it in storage. You want to make sure it's either drained or turned off. Inside here is the water system. So these are low point drains. If you open up these drains right here and open up all the water faucets inside the camper, it's going to gravity feed about 90% of all the water out of the water lines. Some people do that, some people don't. I just like to let people know what they are. Upside here, depending on how these valves are moved, is how the water system is going to work. So no matter what you're doing with the water system, you're always going to hook your hose to here. So if you're filling the fresh tank or using city water, you're always going to hook your hose into here. You're just going to hook your hose into there and then come back here. And depending on how these are marked, some people get a permanent marker and put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to make it easier on them. But we'll go over what they do. City fixture is the city water. So city fixture you're going to use if you have a water spigot right at your campsite. You're going to hook your water regulator up to it, get a sanitized hose, hook it to the regulator, and then hook your hose to the camper. Turn the water spigot on. It's going to feed water through the whole camper just like a house. No need to fill the water tank or use the water pump or anything else like that. Next one, city fill tank. If you're going to somewhere that does not have a water spigot at your campsite, you're going to turn the valves to that number so it starts filling the fresh tank. There is an overflow in the fresh tank, so if it looks like water's just pouring out of the bottom of the camper, your fresh tank's full. Turn the water off, and then you're going to turn it to normal. Normal will allow you to suck water from the fresh tank using the water pump. So if you do, if you turn it to fill tank and then turn the pump on, it's going to be sucking air and water. So if it's acting all goofy and kind of funny, make sure you turn it back to normal after filling the fresh tank. Country fill. So country fill will actually allow you to hook a third-party hose up to the city water connection over there and actually suck water from a 5-gallon bucket, 30-gallon bucket, fresh spring, whatever, and suck that water into the fresh tank, and then you turn it to normal, and then you'll be allowed to suck that water from the fresh tank through the camper. So that's kind of like, let's say you're out in Arizona camping out in the deserts. They have these water trucks that drive by to fill your fresh tank. Well, they really don't have a hose to fill and hook into your city water, so that's when you would, turn it to country fill, throw your hose into their, bat of water, turn the pump on, it's going to suck it from there into the fresh tank, turn it back to normal, and then you would have your fresh tank full again.
Gotcha.
Sanitize and winterize the lines. Basically is how you winterize. You're going to hook this hose right here up to the city fixture, the water. Get about probably 3 gallons of water or 3 gallons of antifreeze. Turn the water pump on, and then you're going to run all the water outlets until pink comes out. So kitchen sink, shower, bathroom sink, the toilet, the outside shower. All those you're going to run the hot and cold sides until pink comes out. And then you're winterized. To de-winterize, you do the same thing, but it's going to go from pink to clear. And then sanitized tank allows you to, kind of the same thing as country filler, to where you can kind of, suck from a third party right into the tank to help clean it out and things like that.
So the only time you need to go to the 3 and 5 is if you're on the city fill tank, the country fill tank, or if you're...
That's pretty much it.
Those are the only, so if you're on the city fixtures, you just stay on that one.
Yeah. So 2.6 is going to be if you have a water spigot. Yep. And then
it'll stay on, and then it'll just draw it whenever you turn the faucet.
Okay.
Yep. Just like it does the house. Okay. And then the way that the normal works is the water pump's a pressurized pump. So you're going to turn the pump on. You're going to hear it pumping. It's going to be filling the water heater, doing all that jazz. Once water gets everywhere, it shuts down. And then once you call for water, it feels the loss of that pressure and starts pumping until it feels pressure again, and it shuts off. This right here is an adapter that we provide for you, so you can actually plug your camper into here and then plug this into like a house outlet. So like the refrigerator, we're going to go over more once we get inside, but it takes any good 12 to 24 hours for that refrigerator to get cold. So that's why we give you the plug. So as much as possible, you want to turn the refrigerator on a good, half a day to a full day before you go camping, so the refrigerator's cold, so you can put food in it. The refrigerator is an absorption refrigerator, so as much as possible, you want to get it cold and put cold things in it. If you get it cold and put hot things in it, it's going to heat up the inside and take longer to cool back down.
Any guidelines as far as when to or when to not move those valves?
No, not really. I mean, if
you're not going to do any damage turning them at any given point, right?
No. I mean, even if it has pressure to the system, once you turn it, it's just going to go where it goes.
And then again, that drain, just so we get it clear, that drain versus this drain?
You're talking about the
one that was just inside, right?
These right here?
Right.
So these will drain the water out of actual water lines in the camper. That right there will drain the water from the fresh tank.
Right, those don't actually drain them in that compartment.
No, they're
drain
through.
Them.
Yeah,
right.
Through out on the ground. Yep. Below, here's the fun part. It's the dump station.
Okay.
Drain the black water.
This is usually the girls' job, so.
I did it last time.
So gray water is everything but the toilet. The black tank is strictly the toilet. So what I recommend doing before you guys even go camping the first time, so what you want to do before you go camping is you're going to get about 4 to 6 ounces of chemical, 5 gallons of water, and dump it right down the toilet. You're going to let that water and chemical sit in that tank until the monitor panel inside reads about 3/4 to all the way full. 2 reasons. I always tell people, do not dump the black tank until it's 3/4 all the way full. 1, you want all that water built up. You want that tank as full as water as possible, so when you pull this gate valve, that water's twisting and turning and getting out of there, because a lot of people don't know that there's about a 1/2 inch lip on these tanks. So if you dump it when it's still reading empty or only a quarter full, the water's coming out, but the poo and the paper are just going to build up a carpet down there. So always, as much as possible, let it fill up, and the chemical in there is going to break everything on down, and when you pull that gate valve, it's all going to come rushing on out.
So if you use it for a short weekend and you only have a quarter,
go ahead and pour water down it to fill it up?
Some people do that, or you just leave it in there if you feel like it. You know, you can leave that stuff in there while it's in storage. It's not going to hurt or do anything.
Any kind of time?
They provide chemicals to you.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, the chemical. My favorite chemical is called Cronin. It's a live microbial organism that it's all natural, and that way it's a clear liquid. So when you pour it in the water and then pour that water into the tank, it disperses evenly through the tank and actually starts coating your tank. And the more you use it, the more those microorganisms are going to stay in the tank and actually start working better and better and better every time you use it. So like I said, you put about 4 to 6 ounces of chemical, and then like you said, if you want to drain your fresh or water, sorry.
Go ahead, we can read it.
Okay, I didn't know if that could hear me.
It might not. I don't know. This is new, so
Okay.
we might be back next week.
So, yeah, some people will fill their black tank manually, like you said. They'll grab a garden hose, go into the toilet, fill it up, and then dump it. Or other people will just let it ride, put it in storage, and use it for 2 or 3 camping trips, and once it reads full, that's when they dump it. Personal preference.
So how long are you?
There's a gauge inside, yep.
How long are you going to leave it? So it's your camper. You're going to go camping once a month. If it's not particularly full, you're going to leave it for a month?
Yeah.
You going to leave it for 6 months?
No, I mean 6 months. You're getting close to winter time, but I mean, yeah, I would.
Okay.
I would, just because of the chemical, wasting chemical and things like that, and plus if you I just like because it has that time to break everything down.
And you called it Cronin was the chemical
Yeah,
that you
Cronin.
preferred.
After this, I usually take people into the parts store and show them different things that they might need or want. So we'll go over it and I'll show you what it looks like. Same
Gotcha.
with like the Dicor and stuff like that. So with dumping it, you want to dump the black tank first, let it drain out, close it, and then dump the gray second. So the gray water is going to be a bunch of sink and shower water, which is going to be kind of soapy, which help rinse out your hose.
Okay. So
Where are
real-
those hoses?
Your hose is right here.
Look there.
So that's what it looks like. You just drag it out, put that in the hole in the ground, and then this just twists and locks.
and then you're pulling the valve open and just holding the valve,
open. I can't remember if I got some water here, but yeah, you just
right? Find out.
a little bit. Just pull them. You don't want to pull them at the same time. You always want to pull the black first, let it drain all the way out, then close that valve, and then open the gray and let that drain all the way out.
Sure.
Make sure you put the hose up.
And then I always recommend, as soon as you're done dumping, before you leave the campsite, add your 4 to 6 ounces of chemical with your 5 gallons of water. So when you're driving home, that chemical water splashing around, helping to clean out the tank, whatever got left in there. Also, that way when you put it in storage and that tank's probably like 150 degrees sitting on the blacktop out in the sun, it won't get an odor. So a lot of people won't put chemical in their black tank until they're ready to use it. Well, there's still a little bit of feces and toilet paper in there that's basically baking in there, and it will stink up your camper. So, I basically tell people as much as possible or always have 4 to 6 ounces of chemical with 5 gallons of water in your black tank at all times, unless you just got done winterizing it, and that's when you're going to dump everything.
Do you just put that in the toilet to introduce it into the system?
Yeah. So the toilet basically drops right down to the black tank. So
Okay.
yeah. So I usually tell people to get a 5-gallon bucket. They're you use them more than you think when you're out camping. Just chemical, water, toilet. Dump, chemical, water, toilet.
5-gallon bucket?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this should be pretty familiar. This is where you put gas.
Easy
That's all
enough.
you got to say about that.
And then down here, so you want to be cautious. I don't understand why they don't change these colors or put them a little bit separate. So this says city water connection. This is where you're going to hook your hose to either use those valves or use to water spigot right at your campsite. This right here where it says caution is a black tank flush. Never hook up water to this and turn it on unless you are at a dump station with the black tank open, hooked up to a dump station, because this is filling the black tank.
It's gonna blow out the toilet otherwise.
It won't blow out the toilet because there's a vent on the roof going to the black tank. So if your seal's good enough on your toilet, it will actually bypass the toilet and poo water will start raining from your ceiling. Not inside, but outside.
I just picture
Well, that's better than right at you.
Oh,
doing this. And it's
And if stuff is ever, just make sure. So just make sure, if you ever use the black tank flush, hook up your hose, put it in the ground, open up the black tank, turn your water on, and then as long as you're hooked up to a dump station, you can run this for 5 minutes or 5 hours. So there's gonna be water in and water out. And the way that it works is basically got a bunch of fingers that start spinning that shoots sharp beads of water around the black tank, so it helps clean it out.
I guess you're probably using different hoses for those two. I mean, because we're probably gonna use a
This
sanitary hose for.
Yeah, you want to use like a white sanitized hose for this, and yes, you can use a separate hose for this. This does have basically a back feed thing to where poo water is not going to come back into your hose. So some people use different hoses, some people use the same hose.
What do you use?
I don't.
Doesn't
really,
sound like you really use that though. So
I don't really use the black tank too much because I don't have a camper. John lets us borrow campers, so I get back, I fill the black tank up with chemicals, soap, and water, let it sit, and then dump it and things like that.
is there a reason why we would situation do that? Is it good to do once a year? Or?
Some people do it every time they dump. Some people do it once a month, once a year. It's kind of a personal preference. If you get an odor, or so inside the monitor panel, if you just got done dumping your black tank and you hit it and it's still reading 3/4 or all the way full, either you have some like poo, toilet paper, hair, something stuck on that probe. So that's when you might want to hook up to this to see if that water can't clean off those probes to get it back reading empty. If that still doesn't work, what I always recommend to clean out your tank really well is get about 2 bags of ice, dump it down in there, about a couple good squeezes of the Blue Dawn soap, fill the tank about halfway to 3/4, take it for a test drive, and then dump it. That icy, soapy water beats up and cleans it very, very well.
what do you pour the ice into?
Right down the toilet.
In the toilet.
Yep. This right here is your outside shower. It has hot and cold, so it's good for rinsing off yourself, dogs, kids, before you bring all the dirt and grime on the inside. This is a secondary water pump switch. This water pump switch is basically if you need to turn the water pump on so you don't have to walk all the way back inside. And whenever either of them on, that's red, let you know that's turned on.
And that's drawing again from the
Fresh tank. Got more storage. Here is where your power cord goes. There is a flap here, so you don't have to always have your door open. You just shove it down that hole, run it to your plug-in, and when you're ready to roll out, you just shove it back in there, close the door.
And what other outlets and whatnots do we have in there?
This is just a normal 110 outlet, and then this is if you got a mobile satellite dish, but I already installed one on the roof, so you'll probably never use that.
So we're not putting we don't hook up to 220, we're 110 hook up?
110. So yes, 110 only. Do not hook into 220.
Say it again.
110 only. Do not hook into 220.
What happens if you hook into 220?
You fry everything 110.
Well, you won't be able to plug it into a 220 with the...
The 30. So if a 30 amp plug can be wired for 220. If you ever have an electrician wire something up, 110. They look the same. It's just basically inside that plug, they don't join them. So like the 110 and the 220 plugs look a lot the same. Like the washer dryer plug and like a 50 amp camper, their plugs look like identical. But the difference is on the 110, they don't join the two positives. They have one positive works this side of the breaker box, this 110 works the other side of the breaker box. On 220, they join them and have 220 everywhere.
In the nature of asking all the stupid questions, when you go to a campsite, they have 50 amp hookups, they have
30 amp and 110.
Right. So do we want to use a 50?
You're only a 30 amp campsite.
So do we want to use a 50? Does it matter?
No, now you can get an adapter to where you can plug into a 50, so you won't be able to plug into a 50. A 30 amp is
Right now with this cord, we can't plug into a 50.
Right, yeah.
We would have to use an adapter.
Plug in what it fits, and that's what it goes to.
Right.
Yeah, so you can plug into a 50, but you're still only going to have 30 amps, but it allows you to plug into a 50 because Just like, let's say you're going to a campsite, or you're on the road and you want to stop somewhere and all they have is 50 amp campsites. Well, you'd be like, well, I have a 30 amp camper, but I can adapt up to a 50.
Right.
So
And that's just plugging it in.
just plugging it in.
Anything.
Yep.
So you have a 30 amp, and that's what runs the whole. Cause my buddy's got a 50 amp.
Mm-hmm.
He's just got more power.
Yeah, he just has more power. So he probably has like a bigger coach. He probably has 2 ACs and things like that. So like on a travel trailer, a 50 amp travel trailer usually is just because it has a second AC. Like this thing right here, this is a 50 amp because it's a big old fifth wheel.
This was supposed to have, Sue, wasn't it supposed to have 2 air conditioners? We ordered both of them. We'll have to
It might have 2 ACs on it.
So you don't know, you haven't looked. But you weren't there when we bought it, were you?
I was not there, sorry.
That was the guy in there that said, go have fun.
So any way that people can easily know what is 110 and what's 220, what they can plug in, what they can't plug in?
At campsites, they're all 110. So if you're at a campsite, you won't have to worry about what you're plugging into. It's mostly like if you're wiring a plug for your house. So some people will, get a plug and a 30 amp plug and everything and put it in their garage or on the side of their house so they can easily plug their camper in. You just always want to make sure if you do that, explain to the electrician it's 110. Because I had an electrician tell me that this is all 220, blah 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 blah. Look at the sticker and all that, and he wired up for 220, and he called me back the next day saying everything is fried, and I was like, because I told you, like it looks like it's 220, but it's not.
Do we have a 110 sticker that we can point to?
Yeah, I mean you should. So like right here, right there.
There you go.
Yeah, we had a 220 in our garage, and we had it converted for a 30 amp outlet.
Okay. Yeah. So you guys know.
Watch your left foot, Mikey.
So here.
That was just more storage, correct?
Yeah, sorry. I thought
fine.
you were just zooming in there. Yeah, just more storage. This right here is the generator. Inside, in the owner's manual, will tell you how many hours you want to run it and then change the oil and things like that. And also inside is a button to start it. If for some reason you can't ever get it started, open, there we go. If you can't ever start it on the inside or you're having problems, you can come out here, and right here is how you start it actually at the generator. And how we start it here is how you're going to start it inside as well. You hit the stop/prime button until the light turns on. I usually hold it down for another 5 to 10 seconds. Make sure it gets nice and primed. You let go and hit start.
You only really need that if you were dry camping. You weren't able to plug it in, correct?
Correct. You're going to use.
And you I'm sorry, you just pulled that back to turn it off, right?
Yeah, I pulled it, but you can push. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're
Stop.
just moving
yeah.
it over. Right. Okay.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
How do you?
So yeah, the generator, you're mostly going to use the generator if you are dry camping, like you said, and you want to run like the ACs and things like that.
If you only have a 220 outlet,
Yeah, if you only have a 220 outlet and you're pulling it up to the house, thank you, ma'am.
And the spec book will outline what kind of oil and easy enough directions, probably on YouTube, on how to change that, correct?
And to change the oil, it's like a plug at the bottom. These don't have a filter, so you basically just, there's a plug at the bottom right underneath. You take the little cap off, drain it, put some oil in it, and go along your day. It's really simple.
How often do you change yours if you're not using it?
On the generator, I recommend looking in the manual and seeing how many hours. So inside there'll be an hours counter that'll tell you how many hours the generator's been running, and in the owner's manual will let you know how many hours, you know, in between every oil change. You know, it might be 100, it might be 75. Every generator's a little different. With the generator, so you make sure this thing's always ready for you when you actually need it, I recommend as much as possible running it at least 30 minutes every 30 days. Just to keep the gas going through it, keep the juices flowing, make sure it's working properly. You don't want that carburetor getting all gummed up. You know, so
So do you add a stabilizer to your fuel when you put it in there?
we'll
Probably
see.
not a bad idea, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean you can. So this sucks from the gas tank, so you'd want to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you're
Okay,
gonna be
okay.
putting it in there. So
Gotcha.
the gas isn't gonna get that bad. I just try to make sure that like I said, the juices stay flowing, and you make sure that it's working. So when you haven't used it in like 4 months, and you go to start the generator and it doesn't work, you're like, oh man, it kind of bums out. So.
So you would do that even in the winter?
Yeah, if you can. Yep,
Okay.
if you can. And if not, like you said, maybe throw some fuel stabilizer in the actual gas tank, drive it around a little bit so it kind of mixes it up, and then run the generator for a while to try to get some of that, into the generator. The generator also has a fail-safe system, so if you're in the middle of the night running the generator, dry camping, and your gas tank's getting low, once it gets to a quarter of a tank, it will shut the generator off so you don't strand yourself wherever you're camping.
That's cool.
That's nice.
So you'll still have a quarter of a tank to get somewhere.
Good.
Just like pop the hood and go look at the hoods. Do you guys have any questions about anything we've been going over, or any concerns or fears or anything?
Oh, there's plenty of fear. Don't kid yourself on that.
So this is the engine. Pretty self-explanatory. You got your battery, windshield wiper fluid. This is where you add oil. This is where you check the transmission fluid. And then that down there is where you check the oil.
Where do you check the oil?
You said check the oil twice.
So this is where you fill the oil.
I thought you said
Fill the check the transmission
Gotcha,
fluid.
gotcha. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. And then check the oil is down there. The yellow handle.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
And with it being brand new, how often do you check that?
These new engines, I would look in your owner's manual. Like I got a new F-150, and I think they said every like 10,000 miles, which sounds a lot to me. Like,
Which, if you want to check the oil, there's no over checking the oil.
yeah, you can check it all you want.
Yeah.
I would have to say probably about 5,000, 3 to 5.
You got some people that check the oil every time they fill up.
Yeah.
That ain't me.
You don't see that happen much anymore like that. But
What's the average mileage put on these things in a year? Any
Like gas mileage, or how many miles people put on them?
How many miles do people put on them as an average? Is it 10,000 or 30,000? I know there's crazy people out
I
there.
mean, if I had one, I'd be camping every weekend. Like, So it all depends, on how far you go. I mean, there's some people that buy like that big old fifth wheel next to us that go camping 3 times a year. Memorial Day, Labor Day, and 4th of July, and they spend, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 on something that they use 3 times a year. So, and then there's other people that buy little travel trailers, or like this guy that go camping every weekend. So, kind of all depends on how you are and how much you enjoy getting out and things like that.
Is this a vent?
That is a vent.
Okay.
it's
That-
not the vent that he talked about, though.
That
No,
is
no,
a that is
that's
a
not where the
vent.
poo comes
No,
out.
that's not the poo vent.
No.
That is the vent for the exhaust fan. So you might need a stool to get up there and open and things like that. The way that it opens is there's 2 tabs. You push up and out, which will open it, and then you push up and in, which will close it.
Okay.
If you do get up there and open it, you want to make sure you get up there and close it, because if you have it opened in storage, little birds and things like that like to build nests in there, and then you'll have some camping friends with you.
That's bad.
We got an outside TV here, and once we go inside, we'll go over the TVs a little bit more, like how to scan for channels and things like that.
The TV is not very big.
Yes, the TV is an HD antenna, so if it's raining and things like that, and you can't get satellite, you can still watch local channels.
Does the TV get any bigger?
This one, it doesn't. No, it doesn't get any
All
bigger.
right.
What do you need bigger for?
So is there a remote, and does this
Piece of
pull
shit.
out?
It does not pull out, and there is a remote. There's going to be a remote for
Pretty neat.
every
Never had a
TV.
TV on a camper before.
It's nice, watching the ball games and stuff like that.
We usually bring a tablet.
Well, if you don't, you're not going to make it all the way down.
Inside here, around the corner, is a switch if you want to take a little video of it, and then we'll do the awning. So we're going to be coming right back outside. Right here is the awning switch to use the outside awning, and you hit out, and it's just going to roll on out.
Which you do not want to use in heavy winds.
Do not use it in heavy winds. You are correct. You don't want to use it in heavy winds. You don't want to use, basically, it's all right to have out at any point. Man, I wanted to get it out enough. So you have awning lights on the end of the awning. When the awning's all the way out, the awning lights are going to be kind of facing towards you. I recommend to run the awning out, so there's like a little flange, like a little lip on it. I recommend to run the awning out so that little flap is pointed straight down to the ground. You know, your awning lights might not be where you want, so at that point you can kind of adjust if the awning lights are pointed straight down or kind of back at the camper or any kind of position like that. Like you were saying about high wind. If it's, you know, if it's kind of like a spring rain and things like that, and it's not real windy but kind of raining and you're outside hanging out on it, I always recommend to drop one arm about a hole or two difference.
To give it that tilt for the rain to come off.
Yep, to give it that tilt. Oh, this one.
Well, you're caught on the next camper. That
Oh,
might be.
maybe that's why.
Yeah, ours we have to do manually and roll out.
Oh, okay, yeah, so,
You take a prop and stick it in the hole.
yeah, that's the old, oh yeah, on the pop-up one, yeah, definitely.
It's a
So,
high
like,
wall, so you get it all the way up, you forget that, it's like up.
gotta
ladder.
lower it down. So,
Lower
yeah.
it or get a ladder out.
So all you do is hit the knob, and then I usually
got
recommend
a
using
knob.
this arm over this arm, so you can pull it and then just lift up, and it goes right on up. So you know, I recommend having about 2 hole difference. So when it's raining, the water's just gonna run off one side. I recommend doing the back over the front, so you don't got a puddle of water right out when you walk outside your door. The most important thing is I recommend just having them on the same hole when you come to run it in.
Just getting ready to
Doesn't
ask
matter
that.
which hole,
Nope, doesn't matter which hole.
so you just count 1 and 1, 2, and then 1, 2 back there.
Yep. Now also, like you said with the wind, if it's windy, roll it up. At nighttime, roll it up. If you're not physically at your camper, roll it up. It is cheaper to roll this thing up than have the Mother Nature literally rip it off the camper. Wind gets underneath this thing and is basically, I tell people the thing of this is a giant parachute. Wind's gonna get underneath this thing and push and pull until it literally rips off your camper. So just always roll it up if you're not using it.
Couple $1,000.
Yeah.
That was one of the topics of conversation with Daly and campers and the Keys. No, in the Keys.
So I noticed we've been sitting here doing this the whole time, and things have been on. I've got lights on and all this good jazz. Are you going to speak to power usage and all that? How all that works and
like how long the batteries will last and things
all
like
that good stuff. Yeah.
I mean, that's all on how much is on. You know, it all depends. It all depends on, you know, if you're plugged into 30 amp, you don't ever have to worry about power.
But right now we're not plugged in.
We are plugged in.
Well, we are plugged in.
We are plugged in.
Okay.
Yep.
If we're not plugged in general, how long are you gonna live? Air conditioning, the fridge is
Air
on.
conditioning will not run unless the generator's on.
Okay.
So,
Generators on, you don't have to worry about being plugged in.
right.
The
So,
majority of times you use this is
So if we're
gonna be-
going camping somewhere where we are not going to plug in, we can probably count on not having power to do all this, right?
so you won't have your outlets, your TV, microwave, and AC. Your refrigerator will run off of gas, your furnace runs off of gas, and everything else, like all the lights run off of 12 volt, the radio runs off of 12 volt.
So we'll have the motor running, doing that.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. And then also, like you said, you can turn the generator on, so if your batteries start to die. Most of these are all LED lights, so I could see your battery lasting about a day.
Is our battery automatically hooked up to that generator?
Yes, so anytime the generator's on, the engine's on, or you're plugged in, all your batteries are charging.
There you go. Okay. Perfect.
Which most all your places you're gonna camp on, state parks.
Right. I want to make sure we got this on
Most of them all have-
video though, so.
We have 2 air conditioners.
All right.
I thought you had one in the back. So boom, boom, boom. The awning, that's pretty much the outside, unless you guys want to go over something again on the outside, or want to see something again, or...
I got about half battery here, so if we got the inside stuff and want to come back to the outside.
Yeah.
Because I do have outside questions again, but. Hey, Jen.
Hey.
No, I mean, all right. Well, hey, Brian, can you
I would like, that's why I just
help me with my untied shoe, dude?
some kind of small camper park on the
sticking your
side of
foot
the
out.
house, so like on nice weekends I can just grab it.
Before I
and
said
go,
anything,
you
you
know?
said, hey. Okay.
You have to kind of like, okay, I'm borrowing one.
smartest
then you gotta make
sister-in-law.
sure you clean it and all that
That's
kind of
perfect.
stuff before you bring it back.
Thanks, Brian.
And
All right, which way are you going first?
I usually make a circle, so right here at the front door, we'll go over the room so everything gets bigger. I just like to have the rooms in so we're not all ducking underneath them to show you all the compartments and stuff. So all here by the door, I call this kind of the power station. So you got the interior light switch here. Power step. You want to turn the step off once you get to where you're camping, because if you leave it on, it's going to go in and out every time you open the door, which does a lot of wear and tear on the motor. And if you step on it while it's going out, it does a lot of wear and tear on the motor. So always step on it once it's all the way out, and once you get to where you're going, just turn it off so it stays out. The step and the auto level system that we're about to go over has a override. So if you stick the key in the ignition, start it, and put it in drive, the jacks are automatically going to come up and the step's going to automatically come in, so you don't rip either of those off.
So those will come in. It's not that it won't let you put it in gear. It will just bring everything in.
Probably don't
That's
wanna
the
take it for
fail-safe.
granted, though.
Right. Now, don't get me wrong. Like the leveling system is going to start beeping at you, like, hey, 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 you know, don't go anywhere. I'm coming up. And then once it's done beeping, you can obviously take off.
Sure.
So, in practical purpose, you can just do that and wait for everything to come up instead of doing it yourself.
Yeah, you could. You know, I still always like to double check because you know things do fail. So even this says, hey, I'm all the way up, they might not be. Exterior lights right here is the night light here, and that's it. Right here is your awning lights. So the lights that are on the end of the awning, you can turn them on and off right here. Outside speaker switch. So if you want to listen to the radio outside speakers are going to be on the outside. You want it inside, you hit on the inside, turns the outside speakers off so you can listen to the radio on the inside.
So outside speakers, is that powered by this TV then?
The outside speakers are powered by the radio up front.
By the radio?
Yep.
So no TV radio, no TV speaker?
No, just from the actual TV.
Right.
Yep. Boom, boom, boom. Right here is the reason we have a battery disconnect. This is the LP/carbon monoxide detector. This thing, if it ever starts going off, you want to turn off your propane tank and stop using propane because either carbon monoxide is leaking in, so something's not burning right, or you have a propane leak and the LP is, leaking into the camper and that's causing it to go off. This button right here is a test/reset button. So if you hit it, you can hit it to test it, or if it starts going off, you can hit that button. It'll cause it to kind of lock itself out for maybe 30 seconds, and then it'll start breathing again to make sure the air's clean. Another thing that'll cause that to go off is like harsh cleaning chemicals, aerosol. If it's hard for you to breathe, it might pick that up and go off as well.
Okay.
So let's say you're camping and this thing malfunctions. How do you turn it off permanently?
You take this surround off, take out 4 screws. This surround right here, that's what this is for. You can stick a knife or a flat blade in there, kind of lift up to get it over these 2 tabs. And then there's 4 screws, cut the wires.
Cuts the wires.
It's hardwired to the battery, so it's always on.
It's a big, big safety thing. You don't do.
Honey,
If it malfunctions, I understand what you're saying.
I've been in houses where the damn fire alarms go on all night and they don't last very long with a broomstick. Neither will that.
Yeah, like my fire, like my smoke detector was right outside my bathroom, so every time I got out of the shower, it'd go off. So I just was like, threw it out. I'm sure me or my dog will smell the fire. But yeah, that's how you basically have to actually clip it out of the system because it's hardwired to the battery. This right here, this main power, this is the battery disconnect. When the red light is on, it is sending battery power through the coach. When the red light is off, it has turned the power off. So this is kind of cool. Like if you guys, let's say you left a light on that you didn't know about or anything like that. When you hit this, it kills power to everything. Like,
TV's still
oh, we're plugged into 110.
on. Okay. So anything on the battery. it
Yep.
turns on. So that will also kill the refrigerator?
And the ACs and all that stuff.
So I'm guessing you're going to show us how to toggle things from the battery to the power supply? Or am I not thinking of that properly?
What do you mean?
What is running on the battery right now?
So everything, so the battery is running like the lights. So like the 12-volt side of the system is going to be everything besides your outlets, which are 110, your refrigerator, microwave, TVs, and ACs. Everything else is going to run off a 12-volt and or gas, and it's basically power in, power out, because you're always charging the battery when you're plugged in, generators going, or the engine's running.
Just wanted to get that on tape so
Yeah.
we're not running out of batteries and we know how that works.
Yeah,
so.
right.
So the engine running charges all batteries in the
Yep.
unit.
Got a battery underneath here. This is your coach battery. So if you ever want to look at it, maintain it, test it, it's underneath this step. And then the engine battery is inside the engine compartment.
Okay. Leveling, I think, is the only thing you're missing there.
Yep, leveling is right here. So what you do is you turn it on. Maybe. Sorry, you have to have the engine started. Would you mind starting the engine? So you have to have the engine started to use this, but it's not in drive. It's the big thing of putting the unit in drive. So it says ready, jacks up.
So right now, what's the status of the leveler?
The status of the level is just none. It's just the jacks are up. You just got to the campsite.
We're at the gas station or whatever. There's nothing right now. So.
Right. So before we run these out, run these down, I like to run the rooms out, level the coach, and then when you're getting ready to leave, run the jacks up, and then the rooms in. So like whenever you get to the campsite, run your rooms out, then do the auto level. And then when you're getting ready to leave, you want to run the jacks up and then the rooms in so it doesn't get into a bind. I try to keep things from getting into a bind, so if the rooms are all the way already out and you're leveling, it's not going to tweak the frame or anything like that and have the rooms have a hard time going out. Run the rooms out, jacks down, jacks up, rooms in. So I'm going to run the rooms out right now where you just hit extend. Okay, sorry, this one, you have to have the engine turned off, my bad. Some things you have to have the engine on, some you don't, so you just hit extend.
Hi, boys.
It's just gonna go sliding on out.
Now, obviously, you have to have the engine off because it will not let you do this while you're driving down the street.
Correct.
That is the fail-safe for that, right?
Yep.
Now,
the kids
can you
playing
start
with
the
it.
engine now?
It would kill as I run the back room out.
But once it's out, can you start the engine?
Yes.
Okay,
It
so
doesn't stop you from driving once they're out. but
No, not once they're out, but it prevents a kid or an adult pushing the button while you're driving down the
Watch
road.
this.
Yeah.
I need more room.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's what Chrissy did. Not Chrissy. Kelsey.
Well, all you need there is a label on the back that says wide load, and you're good to go.
So it was just those two that roll out.
Yep, just those two, and basically just hit them until they, hit the sidewall and you hear the motor stop. Would you mind starting the engine one more time, ma'am?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
So this is this the model we had at the house?
So to
think
put
we-
the
It looks
jacks
slightly
down, you need
different.
the engine up.
Yes, ma'am.
Gotcha.
So to use the jack system, both these lights are blinking. It's basically saying, I am ready for a command. Tell me what to do next. What you're gonna do is just hit auto level. Press enter, apply. Oh, sorry, could you hit the parking brake?
Parking.
It's gonna be just like in a car on the...
Probably on the floor. Yeah. That yes.
Just the e-brake.
Yep.
That's not a clutch. So yeah.
Auto leveling, grounding jacks. Remain still, please wait. Now it is going to be like do, so don't freak out or anything like that. It is going to move.
Yeah, feel it.
Some people, they feel it for the first time and like they'll hold on for dear life like it's going to tip over or something. I'm like, it'll be all right.
Now, how much space do you have for leveling, as far as if you need to bring levelers in to put underneath the jacks?
I mean, most campsites have pretty level, level pads, so I think you'll be all right. Now, if you go somewhere where like it's a rocky pad or like it's tilted and things like that, yeah, you might want to bring some pads, and I even say some wooden blocks to maybe drive up on to get that side
Yeah.
up. You don't want to rely on the jacks to raise the camper off the ground to level it. And do not use them to change the tires or anything like that.
So think of them as weak, and then we want to raise up the wheels if we're going to need to stabilize it.
Yes, yeah, yeah. If you're camping and you can tell the camper's like this, bring some wood blocks to drive to get the camper level, and then you might need some wood blocks or something on that side if if the jacks don't have enough stroke to go all the way and hit the ground.
So you're talking about bringing blocks and driving the tires up on the blocks?
Yes, sir.
To take that to this, or to this instead of...
Yep.
So it's saying analyzing and please wait. That means it's not done, right?
Right. This is blinking, letting you know that it's working. It just went. It's a
Success. So success means that we're all good, right?
Yes, sir. And now see how that sets, how it stays solid? Once that green light is solid, it is 100% done. You can turn the engine off, you can turn this off, all that jazz. And then to retract the jacks, you simply make sure the parking brake's on, start the engine, and hit retract. And it's gonna raise the jacks back up.
I'm guessing those other buttons there is manual process.
Yeah, so you can
if
like
you want to get fancy or
yeah, so like if it gets in the lockout mode, it'll be like hit enter to take it out. And you hit enter, and then you can scroll through and get to different things. And then yeah, if it ever gets out of level, because basically there's like a like a little leveler in here. If that thing ever fails or gets out of whack, it might say it's level when it's leaning sideways or things like that. Then you can manually do it where the front does the 2 front, the rear does the 2 rear, left does the front and rear left, and then the right does the front and rear right.
very good.
Do you have to turn it to auto to do that, or manual to do
You'll turn it to manual. Yeah, you'll basically like hit enter to acknowledge and then go up and down, and it'll be like manual mode. And then you hit enter again to acknowledge to go into manual mode, and then you can manually do all that stuff. Up here is the monitor panel. So this is where you got your gauges and all that other fun stuff.
I didn't want to get it.
So the tank heater is right here. There's a sign.
Oh, thank you.
See the last one? Yeah, didn't have that.
So you got the 2 slide outs, 1 and 2. 1 is the main, 2 is the bedroom. This right here is the generator, so this is going to give you the hours that it's run. And then this is how you start it. Just like outside, you hit stop until the red light kicks on. I usually hold it down for a couple seconds more, let go of the button, and then hit start. Just to let you know, on the outside button and the inside, if you're like holding down the stop and it's primed and you're ready to go and just basically slide your finger up to start, it's not gonna sense like the off to back on because of the rocker switch. So hit the stop and to prime it, physically let go of the whole button and then hit the start so it actually starts up. This right here is your inverter. So the inverter transfers 12 volt to 110. So if you're driving down the road, you can hit the inverter and it'll keep the TV on. Right here's the monitor panel. So we got battery, fresh tank, black tank, gray tank. Battery, so it goes empty, 1/3, 2/3 full. Battery's always gonna read full when you're plugged in or charging the battery because it's charging up. Fresh tank is empty, black tank is empty, and the gray tank is empty. This is a tank heater. This actually will heat your black, gray, and fresh tank to a certain degree. If you're out camping, in like the 40s to the 30s, you can turn it on and it'll make sure your black and gray and fresh tank don't freeze up. Now, if you're out there camping in like 12-degree weather, it might not do so well. So just, be cautious of where you're camping and things like that.
If we're doing that, do you run the vehicle? Does that help, or?
No.
You just
basically the tank heaters are 12-volt heating pads that are just stuck to the bottoms of the tanks. The water pump switch is the water pump switch just like on the outside, and whenever you turn this switch on or the outside switch, this will turn on letting you know that the pump is activated.
So if can they get out of sync?
That's why they're kind of like rocker. You could turn it on outside and turn it off inside. Yes. You can turn it on and off outside, turn it on and off inside, or kick it on outside and then you're getting ready to leave, and then kick it all, back off on the inside.
So okay, oh man, we forgot to turn it off. Oh hey, let's just turn it off right
Exactly.
there.
Yeah, it doesn't matter which switch you turn it on or which switch you turn it off on. That's why they have a little light indicator, so because this might be like it's turned off, but the pump's actually on because you turned it on off here and turned it on outside.
Do we turn the pump off when we're driving? Does it matter? Or?
It doesn't matter. I mean, you might want to leave it on if someone's using the potty.
So the only time you really were turning the pump on and off is when you are done.
Yes.
When you're putting it up.
Yep.
Other than that, you can keep it on and you'll be all right.
Exactly, yes. Right here is the water heater, gas, water heater, electric. Gas side, if you accidentally turn it on without water in it, not that big of a deal. Really big deal if you turn it on without water in it on the electric side.
And that harkens back to where we started our tour.
With the heating element, yep.
Making sure that always has water in it.
Yep. And like I said, if you if you make sure all the air, purge the air out of the hot side of the kitchen faucet, and even if you wanted to double check yourself, you could pop the pop-off valve at the physical water heater and water should come shooting on out. Dun, 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 dun. That's all the stuff up here. There's a FLT right there. That will actually light up just like the water pump switch if the water heater locks out. And we'll go over that. So the water heater, the refrigerator, and the furnace have a tri-light system where they try to light 3 separate times. If they don't light after the 3rd try, they completely shut themselves off. To where you would basically just turn the switch off, wait about 5-10 seconds, turn the switch back on, and it'll go through the relighting process all over again. So to prevent those things from happening, what you're going to do is whenever you pull the unit out of storage, you're going to turn that propane tank back on the outside. Air leaks into the gas lines. So whenever you turn that propane tank back on, you want to come inside and light the stovetop. I recommend turning all 3 burners on and hitting the clicker until all 3 light up. Once they all 3 light up, let those light up and just burn for about 30 seconds, maybe up to a minute, and it'll purge all the air out of the gas line. That way the water heater, furnace, and refrigerator should just light right up without any problems. But if the water heater locks out, that little FLT red light will kick on, letting you know that the water heater shut itself off. Turn the switch off, wait about 5-10 seconds, kick it back on, and it'll go through the relighting process all over again.
Very good.
You got your sink, which is a pretty standard sink. Right here is the stovetop. And to light it, you have a clicker right here. So to light it, you turn it to the big flame and just hit the sparker until they flame on up. The oven, you have to do it the old school way. Right here it says pilot, push and hold. You push and hold it, you're gonna get your barbecue lighter, get down underneath here to where the silver little spoon looking thing is until the flame lights up.
That is old school.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then once the little blue flame is there, you hold down the pilot light for maybe another 5 or 10 seconds, and then turn it to the temperature you want to bake at. This gas system right here, this whole thing, does not have a fail-safe like the water heaters and things like that. You turn this on, propane is being pumped into the atmosphere without anyone knowing it until your nose smells it or the LP detector goes off. These knobs pull off. If you have young kids that like to play with knobs and mess with things, you can pull those knobs off and put them somewhere so some kid doesn't turn it on and all of a sudden you got propane. Same with the stovetop. Never either use this as in, turn it to pilot, light the pilot, cook with it, and then turn it completely back off. Do not leave it in pilot mode. Once again, that pilot light gets blown out or anything in between, you're just building up, propane into the stove, and if you're cooking on top and you open this, it's going to be a big boom.
Yeah.
And once again, there's gas, it's going. What's the best way to turn the gas off from in here right now? Or does it go outside?
Go outside and turn the tank off.
Okay. So when you're driving down the street and you smell it,
I guess you can pull over and turn it
the
off.
move, right?
Yep.
Open up the windows and
Exactly. And before you freak out, make sure someone didn't bump and turn this on. Like I said, this is you're surprising. This is somewhat easy kind of bump to turn on. Like I have an automatic igniting gas stove at my house, and one of my buddies accidentally like turned it right to turn the gas on, but not the sparker. Like we were playing cards, and all of a sudden I was like, I smell gas. I was like, what's going on? And I mean, he barely just, found that sweet spot to where like it even happens at the house. So, even if you have a bunch of people in here all walking around, hanging out, take the knobs off.
Good idea.
I think keeping the knobs off is.
Oh, I think definitely, yeah.
And it all depends on how old the kids are and everything like that.
Yeah,
Knobs off.
Wax on, wax off.
So right here's the refrigerator. Double doors.
Nice.
And the way that you turn it on and off and choose what you want to do is right here. So you have set temperature, mode, and on and off. So you hold down the on and off, it turns on. It says AU for auto, and then AC for it's running off the AC current. It has an auto mode. So right now it's on. You set your temperature, 9 being the coldest. I usually tell people to start at 9 and then turn it down if it gets too cold. You have mode, which you'll probably hardly ever use. So you can go to AU, AC, or LP. AU is auto, AC is AC only, and LP is LP only. Auto mode is you leave it in auto mode. Basically, whenever it's plugged into 110 or the generator's running, it's going to run off 110. If it ever senses the loss of 110, it's automatically going to switch over and run on gas as long as you have your propane tank on and have purged your gas lines. Once you get to where you're camping, you plug back into 110, it's going to be like, oh, I have 110 again, and just start running off of 110.
And when you set the temperature, I'm sure it sets the freezer to a relatively...
Yep.
Okay, very good. I do have 4 minutes left on this, so if there's anything critical...
Those are pretty much the critical things.
Making the bed.
Those are pretty much the critical things.
Okay, then I'll shut up and let you...
Yeah, and you might want to turn that off until we're done so we can go over some things up front. Up front's pretty self-explanatory for, the car end of it. But those are basically all the, appliances and stuff.
Okay, that's simple AC heater.
This is simple, kind of like, we'll tell you. So, like, it's telling us that we have 30 amps of service. The water, water heater powered, reefer powered, AC rear powered, AC front powered, how many amps we're pulling, and then back to there. So like that saying power, so like if you're like, man, my AC is not working, you could go there and see if the AC at least has power going to it. And if it does, then you know it's something at least with the physical AC, not something in the coach. The thermostat here, you got cool, fan, off, and heat. Cool, anytime you're running on cool, you want the fan to be in high mode because a lot of times in low fan it doesn't blow the air across the fence fast enough and they'll slowly freeze up.
It's good to get
I
on
know
this
you're
video.
not. I know your box isn't here yet or anything, and you only got a couple minutes. Right here is the line guard switch for the satellite. To use the satellite, you simply turn the satellite on, and you'll be able to hear it trying to find the satellites in the sky. Up here, where it says LNB1, that is where it's hooked into. Not 2, but 1. Hook your coax into there, run it to the run it to the box, and then run the box to the TV, and then HDMI 1 or 2, and the satellite will pop right on up. This green light in here is the booster to the TV. You always want that on when you're watching normal TV because it boosts the TV signal to the antenna. With it off, you might get one. Can you see it?
Yeah.
With it off, you might get 1 or 2 channels. With it on, you get basically 3 to 4 of every channel, like 3 2s, 3 4s, 3 5s, 3 9s, 3 11s, 3 30s. Yep.
All right. Final minute.
And then, DVD player is pretty self-explanatory. Anything critical? I think that's pretty much it. I'm going to still show you the rest of the camper, but...
All right, signing off.
Don't leave all the vents closed on the air conditioner.
No.
That makes sense? I got people in my van that close all the vents. The damn, in a tall person, I'll close all the vents. And I'm like, just tell me you're cold.
Yeah.